Hey friends, welcome to my channel, Life with Everyday Haley. I am on a fertility journey, and if you have found my videos, I'm sure you are as well. And my biggest blessings and thoughts are with you in this time. It is not easy, so my channel is devoted to sharing my story through this battle, hopefully to help women going through this. And hopefully some of the things that you hear from me today will be a guiding light and resource for you as you navigate your next steps, because a lot of this is patient next steps, praying and hoping that you're in the right direction on your journey. So if you're new to my channel, welcome. I'm super happy that you're here. I love having a community with women on TikTok and YouTube, just to talk about all the things that we're going through, to know that we're not alone, even though it does feel very isolating. And so today I am going to talk with y'all about my journey to establishing care with a reproductive immunologist, what that means, and why I felt like it was a good fit for me and my journey and my husband's journey. And if you haven't seen my other videos, I would encourage you to go to my channel to see my history, where I've been, where I've come from. And there's a lot more facts and details on there to help you form opinions on like what might be a good path for you. And so I'm just going to get started today, sharing my journey toward this special realm of fertility care. So if you're curious about what reproductive immunology is, reproductive immunology is a branch of fertility care. It's very specialized, basically where these providers are specialized in why are women miscarrying or having implantation failure or IVF failure and things like that. So it's a specialized realm of fertility care for women like me that have had pregnancy losses back to back and an unknown reason. Also, some women can have, a healthy pregnancy and then go to get pregnant a few years later and have issues like I have faced. And so your thought is, why is that happening? What's going on in my body? So it's a very specialized, a really important area of fertility care for women like us that we can conceive. That's not the problem. The problem is I miscarry. So a little bit about my story to help you understand. So first of all, I was diagnosed with an autoimmune condition when I was 22 years old called rheumatoid arthritis. I do have a video on my channel about that diagnosis and all the things associated. So that's been a huge part of my life for 8 years now. It's hard to believe it's been 8 years. I'm at the point now where I can't really remember my life not being diagnosed with this. It's been such a big part of my adulthood. And I am kind of glad that I got diagnosed so young, because I've been able to really take my health seriously and learn to get to a state of remission. So I was diagnosed at 22. A very aggressive form of rheumatoid arthritis came out. To be completely transparent, I had mono in college, which is a common, infectious disease that is, spread amongst college students. You can get it from water fountains, all kinds of things. And then a few months later, my rheumatoid arthritis symptoms started. So it's called the Epstein-Barr virus, is the monovirus, and a lot of women believe that that's what triggers their autoimmune conditions to come out. So I do believe that. I do believe that that's what triggered it to come out. So immune systems or immune diseases can be like dormant in your body if you do have like a disposition to having them. There can be genetic components, and then something can trigger it to come out. So that's what happened to me, I believe. And just to comment as well, my mom has connective tissue disease, very mild form of it, doesn't need actual treatment at this time. My aunt has rheumatoid arthritis and lupus, pretty severe. So she's had her struggles. And I have other family members that have had it pretty bad, as well as gout and other things. So it does run in my family. It is super prevalent in my family, and primarily the females. So when I got my diagnosis, it was scary and confusing because I hadn't been having symptoms for very long, but it made sense. So if you want to learn more about my diagnostic journey, please view that video on my channel. So basically that shifted my life to where I've had to really focus on my health And basically, it took me 4 or 5 years of treatment to get to a state of remission where I wasn't having flare ups all the time and in a lot of pain. So I really worked hard. I stayed on my treatment. I did what the doctor said to try to get to a good place. And I'm really happy to say that for the past several years, I have been in a really healthy state of remission to where my RA is controlled. My RA um, is like not infecting my everyday life. I do have to be on treatment. I do attribute my success to staying on my medical treatment, but I've done really well. So I transitioned off of methotrexate, which was my long-term RA medication, last April as we wanted to try to get pregnant. I had to wait a few months to let that leave my system. It's not a safe pregnancy medication. And I got on Cimzia. There is more on my channel about that journey as well. Cimzia is a pregnancy-safe biologic rheumatoid arthritis treatment. I love it. I've been on it for over a year now, and it makes me feel great. I feel wonderful. So treatment's going great. So let's fast forward to the fertility world. So all of my doctors, my rheumatologists, they definitely want to give you the green light for conception, because if you have active disease flaring and issues, it's not going to be good for your body in pregnancy. And so for me, I actually have had the green light for a while from my doctor. We've talked about wanting to get pregnant for years, changing me to Cimzia. We've talked about that for a while. So he was really helpful in that space for me to prepare me for what my journey was going to be like. But my journey has faced some additional challenges that we were not expecting. And we don't really know exactly what's going on. It leads me to this video today. My doctor is like, your rheumatoid is doing great. I 100% support you conceiving right now. And I had the green light for quite a while before we really were ready. And then I told my doctor I'm ready. We started the medicine transition and we went off to the races. And he encouraged me to try to get pregnant as quickly as I could because of my disease and that it was in a good state. And you never know how long your treatments are going to work. So Cimzia is working for me, but we want it to keep working for me. And we want it to work in pregnancy. So that is another factor to my journey that's a little difficult to navigate. So that's what we did. My husband and we started trying to conceive in July of 2023. I started tracking ovulation, timing intercourse very effectively, very strict with that schedule. I am a woman that has regular cycles and ovulates. So for me, that part was easy. Getting pregnant has been very easy for us, which is a blessing, an unexpected blessing. So both times that we were able to get pregnant, that we tried, I got pregnant on the second month of trying. So that tells us that, wow, like you actually get pregnant pretty easily. Or I have in the past at least. So conception isn't really my problem, which some women with RA can have issues like with conception, and just, women in general can have issues with that. So not just women with RA, but women in general. But that wasn't me. And so my story is different. My story is first trimester miscarriage. And so my first pregnancy, I didn't know I was pregnant. It was a very strange situation. I had a lot of pelvic pain and issues, which could attribute to some of the things I found out through my testing now. But I got pregnant and then lost the pregnancy the week after I got pregnant. So I had a chemical loss, which is common for women. It's common to have chemical pregnancies. It doesn't make it okay. It's still very traumatic, but chemical pregnancies are very common. And a lot of people have them, and a lot of people didn't even know they were pregnant. I would not have known that I was pregnant if I had not taken a pregnancy test. And I did. And with that pregnancy, there's more on my channel about that as well, if you're curious about what is a chemical pregnancy. So I will spare you the details of that. But I only knew I was pregnant from an HCG level testing and then bleeding a lot. And that was the extent of it. It wasn't very traumatic. I'm not going to lie. It wasn't very traumatic. It was more alarming, just confusing, because I had never been pregnant before. But I didn't have any time to bond with the baby. I think that helped me I mean, I love the baby now. I have bonded with the baby now, now that I know that they are in heaven, but I didn't at the time bond. So I think that helped me tremendously get over that situation. So I bounced back from that pretty easily, actually really easily. And I didn't let it get me down. It just motivated me to keep trying, because then I was super excited that I can get pregnant. That was my first time knowing that, and it was pretty quickly. Okay, so let's fast forward. So we started trying again in November of 2023, and I didn't get pregnant that cycle. So I was kind of bummed, but it is what it is. And I got pregnant in December of 2023. So again, second month of trying. Wow, that's awesome. And this time things were totally different. And it brings me happiness to say that I've made progress. I still haven't had a full-term pregnancy, but I made progress, and that makes me feel really hopeful. This pregnancy was totally different. I had all the symptoms of pregnancy. I tested positive at DPO 11 before my period even came. My tests kept getting darker. I never got my period. I never bled. And I was full blown pregnant, and I was so happy. I was so happy. I did bond with the baby. It was my first true pregnancy, and you can imagine how I felt. I was so excited. I could not have ever been more excited. I think that was the happiest. I was pregnant for 2 months. Those were the happiest 2 months of my life. And I was so close. I was about halfway through my first trimester when I miscarried. So I was close, but I wasn't there all the way. And so the second loss really shocked me. And a lot of this can be very difficult to understand. Your body does a lot of crazy things, and a lot of this is not easily understood. There's no science to pregnancy loss. It just kind of happens, and none of it really makes sense. So if you're trying to put the puzzle pieces together after going through pregnancy loss, you really can't, and that makes it really hard to move on and even fix problems. But what I've learned through this journey is whatever I think my body's going to do, it does the opposite. And I have zero control over what my body does. So I just want to say that with transparency, that like, you don't have any control, nor do you really know what's going on. So don't try to understand, because we can't. We're not God. We're not in our bodies. And there's limited control over what goes on. So I just want to give you like understanding that if you do have pregnancy loss, you haven't done anything to cause it. I just want to give you that understanding, because that's kind of like where my mind is going with this. So anyways, let me explain why this loss was so weird. So, and again, this is common for loss, but it's very weird. So I was very pregnant, doing really, really well. All the symptoms, I had a missed miscarriage. So I went in at my 8.5-week ultrasound for my first appointment, and the baby was too small. The sac was too small, and I had been starting to spot. So there was no heartbeat, and they're like, your pregnancy stopped developing. This is common. This happens in the first trimester. We're so sorry, all the things. But the weirdest part was that like I was still throwing up and having like severe pregnancy symptoms for quite a while after the loss occurred. And then my body never passed the pregnancy loss. So that was weird too. And I don't know why that happens, but it does. And I'm under the impression that your body just kind of tries really hard to stay pregnant and protect that pregnancy. So that's my theory. And like emotionally, my heart just really wanted that pregnancy, and I just don't think my body wanted to let it go. And I think that's a really beautiful thing, that like as a mother, my body was trying to protect my pregnancy, but there was something wrong with the pregnancy. And sometimes your body doesn't always catch up to that right away. And so when this happens, why does it happen? We don't know. I wasn't able to get the baby tested chromosomally. You can do that in some instances. If I do have another loss, I'm going to try to do that. Usually that is done after like a D&C procedure in most cases. So I had chosen to pass the pregnancy at home, but if it means that I can, test and see what's going on, I may choose another route, obviously. So I won't get into all the nitty gritties of that, but my second loss was very strange, and I did develop a subchorionic hematoma on the pregnancy loss, but it looks like it appeared after the baby had already stopped developing. So sometimes subchorionic hematomas can have an immune uh, perspective to them. However, mine seemed to form through like maybe my body trying to process the loss, so we're not really sure about that. Again, I'll just reiterate, a lot of this is like very, very unknown. There's just a lot of unknowns. So anyways, that was my last loss, and that one really shook me. That one was really hard because I was bonded. We had no idea what we were walking into. Very gullible, very hopeful. I didn't even know that a miscarriage was possible before walking into that day. You don't learn a lot of this until you're on the journey. And so it was just a lot to take. So I had to take some time and process. And it's been about 5 months, give or take. And so I've had time to heal emotionally and physically. But it took time, and I'm still on my healing journey. And I learned a lot, and I've learned a lot about myself and how strong I am. And so we started our testing process. So my medical center allows you to start testing after 2 losses. Some places don't let you start until after 3. However, with my history of autoimmune issues, I just wanted to look at my health. So I started pushing and getting tests done, and I got tons of testing done. You can see that on my page as well. But really, the only things that came up were chronic endometritis, which I got diagnosed with through a biopsy. That is a chronic inflammation of your intrauterine lining that can be caused by miscarriages or procedures. It can also cause women to miscarry, so that very well could be a big factor into my journey and why I've had losses. So I'm currently trying to treat that. There is more on my channel about that journey as well. And then I did have a higher than normal egg count, AMH count. My AMH is 14.6, or it was when I got it tested, and I am 30, so that's too high. I also have polycystic ovaries on the ultrasound. So my doctor, my fertility doctor, believes that I do have PCOS with a high egg count, the polycystic ovaries. Thankfully, I do ovulate, have normal cycles, and I do have a normal LH and FSH level, which can be weird in women with PCOS. I also have normal testosterone and hormones. I haven't had my progesterone tested after like into the luteal phase. I would love to do that. But my doctor was just like, we'll supplement you with progesterone in pregnancy. So even if you have a defect, it'll take care of that. So I understand and respect that. So anyways, that's the only thing that they found. So that leads me to reproductive immunology. So I have chronic endometritis that is not really responding to antibiotic treatment. And I have found a specialized reproductive immunologist that I feel like can potentially help me on my journey now that I am in kind of between a rock and a hard place. Most of the times, chronic endometritis is due to like a bacterial imbalance in your microbiome of your uterus, but I'm not really responding to antibiotics, so I kind of just want his guidance and opinion. So I've been on another round of antibiotics, so you can view the recent video on my channel about chronic endometritis to see, what's going on with that. I won't get into that on here. He wants to test me for a virus that can be in the uterus. So he is going to do that with my next biopsy, and he's going to really help me in that space. With the PCOS stuff, my fertility doctor said, we can try. She's like, you can try to conceive naturally again if you would like, or we can try a medicated cycle with letrozole to see if we can really support a good, ovulation of a good egg and follicle growth. And I was like, okay, I'm willing to try that, definitely, because it's not expensive to do that. And then after ovulation, we'll supplement with progesterone and baby aspirin, and we will monitor you very closely in your first trimester and beginning weeks of pregnancy. So that was kind of where we were with that. Um, Not really an answer. So some doctors have told me, there's nothing wrong with you other than chronic endometritis that you're trying to clear. Like, miscarriages are common. Go ahead and try again and you'll be fine. I've gotten that from a couple of doctors. Um, my fertility doctor, I feel like, has that perspective of we have to get this chronic endometritis gone for you to have success. And I just felt like I was spinning my wheels. So I looked into reproductive immunology. And how I found out about reproductive immunology is a very interesting story. So I am on a Facebook group for women with rheumatoid arthritis that are trying to conceive. And I would recommend you get into Facebook groups if you're in this world. Find groups that relate to your condition or your diagnosis and connect with people, because those people will give you information, give you guidance, help you form your plan. Facebook has been a gift to me through my journey. I would never be where I am today without the research I've done and the people I've talked to. And don't be afraid to message people. Ask them about their story. Say, hey, I saw your comment. Did you ever resolve this? Or, hey, what worked for you? Most women are very receptive to those messages, and I am too. I try to help anybody that I can because we're all in this together, and we know what it feels like to be confused and isolated and not know what to do. So I got on the page and I commented, made a post, and I was like, so I have RA, I can conceive, naturally. I'm on Cimzia. I get pregnant pretty quickly, but I'm having miscarriages. So what is going on? Does anybody have this problem with RA? Because all your research and all the doctors tell me, my rheumatologist that I have had for years is like, you'll be fine. Like, it doesn't really affect pregnancy. And typically women that get pregnant with RA have a good pregnancy because they go into remission with their immune system. So that's the scientific understanding of pregnancy with RA, is that you'll go into remission with your immune system. Well, I'm already in remission, so okay. And so I commented that on the page, and I got all kinds of responses of most women saying, actually, I didn't have these problems that you're having, which was reassuring to hear. And then I had some other women say, I actually did have issues like this. And then some special person tagged Reproductive Immunology and said, you need to see a reproductive immunologist. I didn't even know what that was. So she tagged the Facebook group for Reproductive Immunology. So I was like, what is reproductive immunology? So I went and joined that Facebook group, and I learned that reproductive immunology, my eyes were just opened up to so much, is a world of fertility care where women that have recurrent pregnancy losses, sometimes high number losses even, find out that they have immune issues in their background, in their blood work, in their body that are causing issues with pregnancy loss. And it's oftentimes things that are not tested for by typical fertility physicians. And so you really have to dive deeper into specialized care to see what's going on. So when I started reading these stories, women that had similar stories as me, knowing that I have rheumatoid arthritis, I just felt so triggered, like this is me, and I just couldn't shake that feeling. So I sat on it for a couple months of, what is this? I don't understand this world of medicine. I've read that there was only 5 reproductive immunologists in America. And so I was like, this is crazy. There's not one where I live. I can't see one. Like, they're very expensive. And so I was just like, maybe I'm jumping the gun too much. Like, I've only had 2 losses, maybe I should just try again. So I pondered on that for a month or two. And I think there was just something in the back of my mind that was just telling me to think about this. And I don't know what that was, if that was the Holy Spirit or what it was, but it was just there. And I couldn't shake it. And I tell you what else. I tried to talk to my fertility doctor, my current fertility doctor, about my autoimmune condition. and was totally just, it was disregarded. I asked if I needed like some low dose steroids or anything to support my immune system in pregnancy, was totally disregarded. Was basically told to talk to my rheumatologist. So I went and talked to him. He said, your RA is under control. There's nothing that we can do for you. I wouldn't recommend steroids in pregnancy. And then he did test me for like some antiphospholipid panels, which is something autoimmune that can be correlated with people that have RA. All of that was negative for me. So he did help me. So I'm not disappointed in my care, but like everywhere I turned, there was never an answer for the autoimmune component, and everybody just like shut me down. And it's very common for women to have immune protocols through IVF or fertility processes, and I just wasn't at the correct physician to do that for me, obviously. And I just couldn't shake the fact that my immune condition was just being disregarded by everybody, like not even looked into. Not even looked into. And I just, that doesn't sit well with me, especially when I'm on Facebook reading about all of these women with immune protocols and immune testing and things that I have never even been tested for. So I just felt like in the back of my mind, it was the right thing for me to do. If I didn't have an autoimmune condition, I probably would not have looked into this. I'm not going to lie to you, but I do, and so I did. So I sat on it for a few months, thought about it, but didn't, tried to be optimistic that I didn't need this additional level of care. Started doing a little bit more research on like actual reproductive immunology. I'm a doctor that takes my insurance, takes telehealth patients, so can see patients virtually. And I just felt like it was a good fit for me. So I knew in the back of my mind, I looked at their website, if you do need a reproductive immunologist, this is the one you're going to choose. And so I just knew that. So I made progress along the way. And then I started dealing with chronic endometritis, couldn't clear it. They're telling me that now my biopsies are clear, there's no bacteria, but I'm still having inflammation. And I just started feeling lost, and I started feeling not supported, and I started feeling like my doctor's basically kind of giving up on me. That's what it feels like. It may not be accurate. And that they just don't know how to help me. And I have been seeing on this doctor's Facebook group, because there's also Facebook groups for the reproductive immunologists themselves. I joined that group when I wanted to become a patient, and I saw that several women had my condition, chronic endometritis, that saw this provider. So I knew that it was an issue that they were familiar with and might be able to help me. So yes, that's kind of what led me to where I am right now. And something just told me I was kind of fed up with going through all these treatments and biopsies and not having success about a month and a half ago or a month ago. And I just said, I feel called to do this. So I went on their website and scheduled a consultation request. And I was like, you know what, let's just see how this plays out and see what's going on. So I submitted a consultation request for some assistance, and I got a response back very quickly, and it was awesome. Their staff is very helpful, and their emails are very informative. And I had to follow some instructions on setting up all the details to get a consultation. So how it worked was I had to fill out some paperwork, send that back in. I had to get my medical records sent from my current, I got my medical records sent from my fertility clinic, my OB that had all of my loss information, and my rheumatologist. And luckily they're all in the same health system. So I just submitted one request. It did take about a month to get that to process. So definitely follow up if you haven't heard anything in a while, because my request apparently failed and then they had to refax it. So that's strange. So the office actually reached out and said, we haven't received your file yet. So I really appreciate them doing that. So I had to call my health system and get them to resend it. And then basically what happens is the doctor evaluated my case and decided if he could help me or not. And so that's a really cool aspect of reproductive immunology, is that they evaluate your case and then tell you if you're a good fit for their care. And I'm really happy to say that he accepted me, and that's a huge accomplishment and a huge step to see that this provider thinks he can help me. And I do think it's because of the issues I'm facing, the chronic endometritis, the autoimmune background, and I feel really hopeful that he can help me. And the best thing about this level of care is if there is something going on from an immune perspective with me, we're going to figure it out. Like, he is testing me for all kinds of things. So I don't want to get ahead of myself. So I got an email that was like, it took about a month, I'd say, to get everything sent for him to review. And that was partially just due to the medical files being sent. They were kind of delayed a few weeks. But the email said, good news. He has evaluated your case and he believes that he can help you. So you've been accepted as a patient. Huge win. I was so thrilled. And I scheduled my consultation. I scheduled my consultation for about a week later, so it wasn't a long wait. And we had our phone consultation. My husband and I listened in. It was about a 30-minute phone call, give or take, and it was very informative. And basically, a very kind physician. We talked about my history, my chronic endometritis. He filled me in a lot on his perspective of things. That was very interesting. He has a different perspective than some of the other doctors I've talked to, and he doesn't feel that I was put on the correct antibiotic regimen for treating this. So that is frustrating to hear. However, he's like, we're going to figure this out. And so with him, I am going to finish my antibiotics, and then I am going to get another biopsy for seeing if my plasma cells are still there, get a culture of the bacteria, and he wants to test me for a virus that can be in the uterus, so a different type of test. And so I'm excited about that. And then also a few other things that he requires to get started with patient care. I have to repeat my saline sonogram, which I'm not really excited about. However, I'm going to do it. I'm excited to have his level of expertise care. So I'm repeating my saline sonogram, hopefully soon. And then I have to repeat the biopsy, which I knew I was going to have to repeat anyway after my antibiotics are done. And then I have to get I have to get an ultrasound, like a transvaginal ultrasound, to look at everything again. So he wants me to get some more testing done up to current date, which some people might ask, why do you have to do all that again? Because I just had it a few months ago. Things can quickly change in your uterus. He just wants an evaluation of me right now, and I respect that. And then there's all kinds of blood work that I need to redo. So how it works is you find a lab that is contracted with your insurance provider. You schedule an appointment and you go get your labs done, and the labs are sent to your provider. They can also be uploaded to your file with that lab, like an app, so you can send your results as well. So he's going to test me for all kinds of things. A lot of things I've already had done, but he explained that he needs to see it again, and a lot of it can change over time. So just realize that if your doctors are wanting to look at your lab work again, it's probably because it changed over time. A lot of stuff about my immune system that I've never been tested for, so I'm really excited to see all of that information. And then some specialty labs that they send a kit to you, and then you take it to the lab to get it drawn for some additional immune stuff. So it is it's very specialized. However, it's very, very complex and detailed. So if there's anything going on, he will find it and he will help me. So that's where we're at right now. And I was on the phone with my insurance confirming last week that all these tests are covered under insurance. And they said, yes, they are, if the doctor, codes correctly and the insurance deems it medically necessary. So that's kind of where you get into some weeds with this stuff. And I have met my deductible, which is wonderful. So my insurance will pay 90% of my labs after, the deductible is met. So I called my insurance, confirmed that with them, confirmed the lab that I want to go to is in my network with my maximum savings tier, confirmed that. I was on the phone with my insurance for 40 minutes. So, you got to be tough and you got to handle stress well in this process, and you got to just bite the bullet and do it. That's all I can say. All of this is just like very overwhelming. Bite the bullet, do it. So basically now I am waiting for a little bit more guidance from my provider. Had a few questions, and then I'm going to schedule my blood draw. Um, it's a big one, and then I'll schedule another day for my specialty blood draw. So I'm hopefully going to get that done this week. If not, I'll get it done as soon as possible. And then I'm trying to get my saline sonogram done during this cycle if I can. So I'm about to call my doctor today and talk to them. And then I'm going to split it up because the biopsy and the saline sonogram are way too hard to do it the same day. It was way too painful, too much. So I'm going to hopefully do my biopsy next month after my antibiotics are done. Because right now I can't get my biopsy done because I'm not done with my antibiotics yet. So this cycle's out for me on the biopsy. And then blood work takes about 6 weeks to come back. So the doctor said that it'll take about 6 weeks to get everything back and then get us set for a follow-up appointment. And so basically once I get my lab drawn, the doctor said, contact us to get on the schedule for your next appointment. So that's what I plan to do. So that's my update for you on reproductive immunology and my journey. It is a lot, and it's been very, very stressful this past week, but I've taken it one step at a time. They sent me like a 7-page email and like all these attachments to go over to get started on this process. So I just had to read over everything, be patient. I had to be, just take a step away. Like there were several days where I just had to like think about it, take a step away, come back to it. Like through this journey, give yourself time to process and like breathe because it's a lot. It's a lot of like high level fertility and medical stuff that we've never dove into. So it's like, it's consuming your life. It's taking over things. It's making you feel uncertain about your future. There's so many unknowns, and you're doing all of this without understanding what your body's doing, without understanding what's going to happen, if you're going to have success, and you're just very hopeful for success. And I have gone through some periods of like stressful feeling like, well, if this is not going to work for me, let me just forget about this dream of being a mom and focus on adoption, because that'll, if I can start that process now, it'll be quicker and I can at least know that there's a baby coming. But then I pause and I'm like, wait, you're not allowing God to work, and your timeline is not God's timeline. And I'm not going to jump to hasty decisions right now. I'm just not. And I've told myself that. And I can get pregnant naturally. I can hopefully find a way to help my body carry a baby. I'm hopeful for that. And I don't think I should just give up on that. Even though it's really hard. And things keep changing. But that just shows you that things can change very quickly. And who's to say that things won't change positively in my direction very soon. And again, every cycle is an opportunity. So every month you have a new opportunity of success. So my husband reminds me, don't panic. We're making progress. You know so much more now than you knew in January. Look how far you've come in just a short amount of time. You have a game plan. You're smart. You're advocating for yourself. You're researching. And he's right. And that's what you have to do. So that's where I'm at today. I am a little nervous about the cost of some of this blood work. So just know that some of these blood work testings can be quite pricey. They can be not always covered by your insurance. So I will definitely, I'm not going to jump to that yet because I don't know what's going to happen, but I will keep you updated on that. We are prepared that this may be pricey for us. We are hopeful that it won't be. However, we see it like this. We've had to put things in perspective of the bigger picture of when we're 50 years old and we have a 20-year-old child, are we going to worry about the money we spent when we were 30 to try to have this baby? Or are we going to be thankful that we worked our butts off to get to a point of success? We're probably going to thank ourselves. And I said, $5,000 right now, a lifetime of having a child, there's not really a comparison there. So sometimes you have to put things in perspective. And I am a patient that right now does not need IVF. I've been told by every doctor I've seen that I don't need IVF. Um, I would like to try naturally. So because we don't right now need the expense of IVF, let's look into reproductive immunology and see if he has a protocol that can help me maintain my pregnancy. And so that's why I'm doing this, to close every chapter of every book and try to look at my case from a whole perspective, because I would rather do that and wait a few months and get a good game plan in place than have another loss. Waiting in this season is really hard, especially after loss, because you just want to be pregnant again. Like, that's the goal. But sometimes practice makes perfect, and sometimes waiting is okay. And if you have to wait temporarily right now, but you end up having success and avoiding other losses or avoiding other issues with your pregnancies, it's so worth it. So I know someday I'll thank myself for all of the waiting and all of the testing that I've had done. But that's my update for you guys on my journey and why I've chosen to see a reproductive immunologist. I think it's a good fit for me. The doctor seems to think so as well. We're trusting God. We are moving forward. And I will update you guys with the labs. I'll update you guys with the results, with the prices of everything, and how my journey goes from here. Thank you for tuning into my channel. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. Would be happy to help you with your questions, and would love for you to follow along on my journey. I hope something I've shared in this video relates to you or helps you on your journey make decisions. And again, if you're in my boat, if you're going through this, my thoughts and prayers are with you. You are strong enough to get through this. I'm a lot stronger than I thought I was. You have the strength to do whatever you need to do to get to where you need to be with your baby and your family, and advocate for yourself. I'll say that in every video. Thank you so much for watching, and have a very blessed day.